Hey, I'm Stephen and this is Solving the Money Problem. If you're new, welcome. If you're not, welcome back. Today I'm doing something a little bit different. Yes, the audio is going to suck harder than a vacuum, so is the video, but don't worry, this is a one-off format. I'm just going to be doing a reaction to a live Tesla bull versus bear debate I watched a couple of hours ago on TV. There's so much misinformation going out into homes now that I just could not let this one slide. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Well, duke it out. How about that? There are bull and bear arguments for the stock today. Gordon, I'm going to start with you. Your strongest case.
Right. So Elon Musk in February of 2019 said that Tesla was going to deliver 420 to 600,000 cars. The number came in at 367.5.
All right, guys. Now just pay attention to the wording here. He has been asked to present his strongest bear case against Tesla, basically. And his opener here is essentially, Elon Musk is really bad at estimating timelines.
If you look at Europe as of over the first 29 days of 1Q20 versus the first 29 days of 4Q19, sales in Norway, Netherlands, Spain are down 40%.
All right, and now he's talking about the fact that the first few weeks of Q1 in 2020, the number of vehicles being delivered to Europe are lower than in Q4, completely ignoring the fact that the automotive industry is highly seasonal. Always Q4 shows stronger sales of vehicles than Q1. And he's completely failed to mention this as a point. It's like this is specific to Tesla instead of an automotive industry-wide issue.
That's over 50% of their demand in Europe. U.S. sales last year, total Tesla cars sold fell 3%. Model 3 cars in the fourth quarter fell 32% year over year. And you have a pandemic breakout in China, the likes of which we've never seen, which is going to significantly dent their ability to sell cars in China. And then lastly, back to Europe, they're building a factory to make 500,000 cars, and they only have 8,000 cars in transit on boats to basically Europe, China, and South Korea. The same number over the same amount of days last quarter was 23,000, 63% fall. I think they have a big demand problem.
This is just getting embarrassing to watch now. This guy is completely ignoring the fact that Tesla started manufacturing and delivering in the US and have slowly been expanding since. It doesn't make any sense to send 3 cars to this country and 12 to this country and 4 to this country and 6 to this country and 23 here. The whole point is that when you've got a large batch of cars, you send them to one destination. You'll have very, very lumpy, very, very unexpected and unpredictable variations and fluctuations in the delivery numbers in different countries until Tesla is producing locally on every continent at mass.
I think numbers tonight are okay, but I think you're going to have a lot of one-time items like, FSD revenue recognition, credit sales, et cetera. And I think they have a disaster of a year in 2020 ahead of them. And I think you're going to hear some of that tonight when they talk about 1Q.
I really don't know how to proceed without just straight trashing this guy. Look, I'm sure he's a very smart individual in some areas of life. This obviously is not one of them. These are just facts. They've got a gigafactory in Shanghai now that is ramped, doing thousands of vehicles a week of production that's going to be running throughout almost the entire year. How on earth is adding 150,000 additional vehicles besides their US output going to be a disaster of a year? Like, what is this guy talking about?
All right, Galileo, over to you. What do you say to all of that?
Now, cut to Galileo Russell, who actually knows what the fuck he's talking about. This will be fun.
Yeah, I'm chuckling to myself because I've seen Gordon pound the table on his $90 price target for years and just be dead wrong. In the past 5 quarters, in the past 6 quarters, 5 of them, Tesla's produced positive free cash flow, which used to be the short selling argument. They're going to report 4 out of 6 quarters of positive earnings when they do Q4. Deliveries were up 50% this year overall. I think it's really easy to cherry pick certain numbers, but the truth is the financial success of Tesla is actually catching up to the market. The reason why the stock is soaring is because they validated their business model. They've proven they can make earnings, positive free cash flow while growing 50% in an auto market that's stagnant. They're outselling all of their competition. Volkswagen CEO, Porsche CEO, they were all saying Tesla's a joke. Now they're trying to copy them as fast as possible. I think it's just becoming clearer and clear that the disruption in the auto industry is being led by Tesla, and this is a multi-year growth story in the making. And 2019 was really the year where they've proven that their business is not only successful from a product standpoint, but financially viable as well. And that is why I think shares are going to continue soaring. They may pull back a little because they've run up so much into earnings, but I think the long-term story has never looked brighter and stronger. And people like Gordon have never been proven wrong more and more times again in a row.
Can I jump in there? So when you say I've been proven wrong, Tesla, over the past 10 years, every single year, they've lost money on the net income line. Over those 10 years, they have a cumulative loss of over $6 billion.
This whole like losing money, not profitable thing just does my head in. I don't want to be rude, okay, but I need to be blunt. Some people are just dumb and don't get it, okay? Tesla's goal from day one is to help transition the world to sustainable energy and transportation. You don't do that by trying to eke out a profit every quarter along the way. You need to scale to such a large degree that you can actually have a transformative impact on the planet and help them transition to sustainable energy and transport, which is what Tesla is doing. They're following the Amazon model. Priority number one from day one has always been to scale production. You need lots of electric vehicles on road, lots of batteries, lots of solar to help transition the world. This is their goal. If they're trying to eke out a profit along the way, they're not going to get to this goal because another competitor with a bigger brain and maybe bigger balls is going to forego those profits, reinvest in scaling production, and win.
Despite billions of dollars in taxpayer incentives. And it's just factually incorrect. They haven't generated free cash flow over the past 5 quarters. I don't know how you're defining that, but when looking at operating cash flow less capex, that's just factually incorrect. We'll see what happens this year. But when looking at the facts and not looking at an aspirational story, demand for their cars is collapsing.
All right, guys, I'm past the point of being kind. This is actually one of the stupidest statements I've ever heard anybody make about Tesla. Demand is collapsing with sequential increases in deliveries quarter after quarter after quarter after quarter. Cool story, bro. I'd love to know your sources because maybe they've got a time machine that I don't know about. I don't see anything indicating that there's any issues with demand at all. Is Tesla selling more cars every quarter than the previous quarter? How does that indicate there's an issue with demand? I don't get it.
In Europe, the USA, and China, as well as, pretty much every other locale. And you're going to see that in 1Q. 4Q, they did about 111,000 in deliveries. I think that number could be as low as 80,000 in 1Q.
Once again, completely irrelevant. The auto industry is seasonal. Q1 will be weaker seasonally than Q4. Whether or not the Shanghai Gigafactory is able to compensate for that because of the extra local deliveries, we don't know. But yes, Q1 is likely to be weaker than Q4. That's what happens in the automotive industry. This is not a revelation, and it's not a Tesla-specific thing.
They're selling 367,000 cars a year. VW's doing millions of cars per year.
And your point?
If I can hit pause for just a second, I mean, we could just watch you guys duke it out, and you like you would be happy to do that. But I do want to ask you, Gordon.
Sure.
I mean, to your point, if there is indeed a divergence between the fundamentals and the stock price, the fact of the matter is, if the stock price is going up, then the shorts get squeezed, and that's what we have. We have indeed. That is also a fact that we have seen that happen. That the people who have sold this stock short,
right? It's
been problematic. And
we used to talk a lot and debate a lot at Bloomberg, right? Look at Tilray stock. It went to 300. Fell to 12. Look at Sun Edison stock. Remember we used to talk about that. It was at 30, went to 0.
No,
stocks get dislocated from reality, which Tesla is right now. It reminds me of the tulip boom, where people were paying hundreds, thousands of dollars for tulips, risk adjusted for currency back in the 1600s. You have these bubbles in the market, and that's what this is.
I've learned through experience that typically when somebody starts throwing the word bubble around, it's either a spruiker trying to sell a book by scaring people, or it's a clown who has no idea what they're talking about and just wants to throw around a buzzword instead of talking about the underlying fundamentals. Pro tip, you ever hear somebody call anything a bubble? Ask them why and ask for their reasoning. And if they don't have any, well, why are you listening to them?
Galileo, I know that you're chuckling listening to this, but I got to ask you a kind of dumbed down question from a guy who loves cars, but the cars I work on are from Studebaker. They haven't really designed anything new at Tesla. The Model S is what, 16 years old?
Okay, apparently Tesla hasn't designed anything new since the company was founded.
And it's kind of getting kind of dull boring.
Who are these people? Is this real life? Like, this guy actually doesn't know what he's talking about. And I mean that in the truest sense of the word. He has this picture or an idea in his head of what Tesla is that just doesn't match reality. I'm sure he's doing his best. I'm sure somebody beforehand tried to get him up to speed on this Tesla company that he was supposed to be mean towards. This is just embarrassing. If you say something that incredibly stupid, it does deserve to be pointed out because it's completely incorrect, just absolutely ignorant. It's amazing to see. This is the level of misinformation or lack of awareness that I'm talking about in the media, in the press, in the finance industry, across the board. Seems to me that YouTubers like Galileo Russell, by the way, Hyperchange is awesome. Check out the channel if you haven't already and subscribe. It's amazing. But it's very clear But somebody on the internet, some untrained finance guy nerd that loves Tesla, typically, if they do the research, they're going to be far more informed than a television host or one of the Wall Street analyst guests they have on. Why? Because a fanatical Tesla investor slash fanboy goes deep on the company. Somebody that's broadly talking about a ton of other businesses and industries as well, they're not going to have the same specialized knowledge. It's not their fault. They just don't know shit because they haven't taken the time to learn about it because it's not in their interest. It is for an ardent investor or somebody that's got most of their net worth in the company.
Well, the Model S is 8 years old. I want to correct my cash flow statement. So this quarter, in Q4, when Tesla reports positive cash flow, that will be 5 out of the past 6 quarters with positive operating cash flow. And in the past 2 quarters, they've done $1 billion in free cash flow. In the past 2 quarters, $1.5 billion in operating cash flow. I mean, those are the facts. They are actually making money. If you look back to Gordon's research a year or 2 ago, he said this was impossible. They would lose money on every single car they sold. They just proven that wrong. And additionally, I mean, there's so much innovation happening in Tesla. They just unveiled the Cybertruck. They probably got hundreds of millions of dollars worth of free advertising overnight. They generated a multi-billion-dollar backlog for a product. I think there's more exciting innovation happening at Tesla than any other company in the automotive sector by far. That's why we're seeing their sales grow 50% in 2019. They're going to announce really strong guidance for 2020. They just spent a year building a factory in China. Yes, we have some issues with the coronavirus, but long term, that's the biggest electric vehicle market. Tesla is the first wholly owned factory in that region, going to provide huge growth for years to come. There's a reason why they keep announcing more.
Can I address the China? So in China, in the fourth quarter in China, they sold under 13,000 cars.
This is a classic example, once again, of cherry picking. Maybe you guys know, maybe you don't, but I will explain what's happening here. Tesla has been building a factory in China to produce Teslas in China to sell locally for much cheaper than the imported versions that people are currently able to buy. Everyone has been aware of this for over a year. Chinese consumers know and knew that if they chose to purchase a Model 3, they had the option of paying way above what it would cost in a few months to buy a foreign imported version or wait till the factory is built. Do you think sales might decline in the lead up to these much cheaper made in China Model 3s? I think that might be the case.
Annualized, that's less than 50,000 cars. They're targeting doing about 120 or 150,000 cars or 37,000 cars per quarter in China. We know that their market share in China fell from 6.5% in Q3 to 4.5% in Q4. They're nowhere close to meeting what they say they're going to produce in China.
All right, let me explain what's happening here. Einstein over here is conflating demand for imported higher priced Teslas that carry with them import duties and all the costs of shipping them overseas. He's conflating that for an indicator of demand for future Model 3s made in China and sold at a much lower price. If there was a word, so you got stupid, you got silly, stupid, dumb, idiotic, moronic, what's after that? Because, yeah, let's use that word to describe what we just saw. There's no other option.
So when you say that things are going well in China, that's just factually incorrect.
Have you guys noticed his tactic here? Factually incorrect is his way of saying you're wrong without actually providing any evidence or any supporting facts to prove what he's saying is correct.
And when you say they make the money on the cars they sold, in the third quarter, they recognized $85 million in FX benefit. That's not recurring. They recognized $63 million in FSD revenue recognition. That's not recurring. $30 million of which was associated with them pushing out the car that comes to pick you up. And there were other one-time items that they highlighted in their press release that aren't going to repeat. You take those out, you adjust their warranty accounting to actually account for the amount of warranty they should be reserving, and they're losing money. We know that they account for warranty accruals as goodwill, so that completely boosts their gross profit and their actual profit reported. So you can't say they're making money on each car. That's actually, in our view, and I think people who know accounting, factually incorrect.
Oh, it's factually incorrect. Okay, yeah, you got me there. My bad.
I mean, I think, Gordon, you're a smart guy. The point is here, you can cherry pick a million data points if you want to and try and make the paint the picture to seem ugly.
This is a really important point, and it's very true. People tend, when they've got a belief or a position on something, to go in with a bit of a blindness. They have confirmation bias, and they'll go looking for things that prove that they're right, rather than starting with an objective, blank slate approach to look at all of the facts and then come to their own conclusion. They begin by starting with the conclusion and trying to work backwards from there to prove themselves right. This is very dangerous, and this is one of the reasons I believe why so many analysts have been completely wrong on Tesla.
They had $5 billion in cash, then they had $5.3 billion the next quarter. They're just piling up cash in their bank account. That's what's happening overall. They're outselling all of the competition. You're looking in the rearview mirror with China data. They're about to drop prices by 20%. The reason why sales are falling in Q4 because everyone's waiting for the made in China Model 3. I mean, the hype in China is off the
But
charts.
Galileo, in 2016, you said the Model S and X was going to take over the luxury market. That was the Tesla story in 2016, that they were going to take over the luxury market completely.
I mean, hey, look, maybe Einstein over here has a different definition of taking over than I do. I mean, to me, I would say this is taking over.
They
completely with the S and X. Now they're talking about discontinuing those cars. So what's the story now?
I don't want to be interrupted. Sorry.
All right, maybe we should just call pause on this. Gordon Johnson, founder and CEO of GLJ Research, and Galileo Russell, founder of Hyperchange. Thanks for being good sports, guys.
Well, that was pretty painful to run through, but I wanted to illustrate for you guys and girls how clearly the Tesla analysts who media are having on, giving a platform, some credibility. Oh, it's a Tesla bear versus bull. The person on television obviously knows what they're talking about. They don't. Most of the analysts that are talking about Tesla have no fucking idea what they are talking about. This has been demonstrated in this video. I could do a ton more. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll spend the rest of my YouTube channel days just tearing apart the stupid arguments from analysts who are completely clueless. Now, look, it could be the case that they're just not very smart. That's possible. It could also be the case that they have vested interests and they're not actually as dumb as they look, but they've got somebody in their ear from their company or their fund saying, hey, we're short Tesla, long Tesla. You know, I know it's a bit naughty, but you might need to trash this company a little bit longer, even if you sound like a fucking idiot on television. And that may be what's happening. Also, it could just be that these clowns are coming in with such strong confirmation bias that they're just blind to what's actually happening. But the point here is I wanted to go through this video and systematically make a counterpoint to everything that was said that was incorrect, just so you guys can see the level of disinformation that these so-called experts are spreading on TV. Why? The whole point, if you can identify a complete mismatch between what's being said and reality, for example, Tesla, it's a great buying opportunity because while there's people on television and in the media spouting off negativity that's just factually incorrect, see what I did there? That's going to cause the stock price to be suppressed or moved down when it shouldn't be. This, I believe, is the whole reason we've seen the recent rally in Tesla stock, because a few less people are listening to a few less morons and are going, oh, hang on a minute. What we've been hearing is not actually what's happening, and what's happening is positive, so that's why the stock is catching up. I'm Stephen Mark Ryan. This is Solving the Money Problem, something a little bit different. Don't freak out, guys. My normal format will be back. I just wanted to get this out there, just as something a little bit different, because, hey, look, I had to get it off my chest. Love you all. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. P.S. If you're still watching, you're awesome. This channel has kind of blown up since it launched, and I'm working on making the best possible content for you guys, but it takes time. Consider supporting the channel at patreon.com/solvingthemoneyproblem so I can continue creating content for you guys. There's a link in the description. Either way, the best kind of support is you being here and watching, so thanks again.